Hello and welcome everyone, and I want to specifically welcome all of my YouTube viewers because this will be the first video that I also post like this on YouTube, where I discuss the metagame and I also discuss why I've adapted certain card choices, and I will talk you through them, why I believe that this is currently the best build for Infect. I do want to note that I've been doing this for quite a long time on my Patreon already. For all my patrons watching, no worries. I should point out that on my Patreon I have a signboard guide, which is still Patreon exclusive. So if you're interested in that, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I will put the link in the description below. You can check that out if you're interested. But these videos will be free from now on for everyone. I will do these for both Modern and Legacy. So if you want to keep in touch with the meta, just click the subscribe button and you will get notified every month when I do an update about why I play certain cards, why I believe that they are good, and why I believe that you should be playing them right now. Alright, so let's just jump right in, shall we? Let me start by showing you the MTG Goldfish website. Let me start by saying that if you have any ambitions to play competitively, this is the way to go. You should often check this website. When I'm making my sideboard guides, I use MTG Goldfish as well. Very good resource. I will put the link in the description below as well for people who don't know the website just yet. Let me just quickly show you how it goes. You can probably skip ahead if you're already familiar with this. So this is the website. And then what you can just do is you can see all of the decks right here. If you, for example, if you're playing standard, you can just click on see all standard decks. But on top here you have all the different kind of formats. So click on Legacy and then you will just see what the current metagame looks like. So Legacy, strangely enough, has been seeing some changes over the last month. And I don't really know why myself, because Delver is still very clearly the best deck in the format, as you can see here, 20%, at least 20%. And at least when I've been playing online a lot, I haven't been facing Delver all that often. I've been seeing a decline in Delver, but I can't seem to explain why. If I would have to give a reason behind this, I'd say that maybe people are tired of this, because when we are watching high-stakes tournaments, this is not the case. When it's really competitive, like PTQ, something like that, you will see that threshold of 20% Delver at least, probably even more. So when it's really high stakes, then we see Delver everywhere. Of course, that's something to keep in mind when you're deck building. So when we go over to my card choices and discussion, you will see that I have really adapted my deck to beat Delver. Otherwise, nothing really stood out to me except for maybe the resurgence of Death Shadow, which is interesting. I think this is a very interesting choice if you want to start playing Legacy, because this is only $2,700, as you can see here, tabletop, although Death and Taxes is probably even cheaper. But the resurgence of Death Shadow is not something that I had been expecting with the white removals flying around everywhere. And honestly, with my latest build, I think we have a fine matchup against those, and Delver too, so interesting to note. All the other decks that we see here are stuff that you might expect when you go to a tournament, so nothing really out of the ordinary. So let's just jump to our deck. As you can see, I've gone back to Bant. I believe that Bant currently is the way to go if you want to perform well with the deck. And a couple of reasonings behind why I believe that this is the case. Main reason is simply just this one: Swords to Plowshares. Best removal spell in the in Legacy, ever printed. It's close with Prismatic Ending, but I still think that Swords is slightly better. And the great part about this is that the controller gains life equal to its power part. It's just irrelevant for us. We deal Infect anyway, so we don't care. For us, it's just one white mana, exile target creature. That's it. All the rest is flavor text. So excellent. I've been trying out builds where I was playing 3 swords and 2 prismatic endings, but I've just not been liking those. We have other cards that are better to get rid of Chalice, what have you, and swords is just a 4 of right now, because I've been seeing a slightly changing phenomenon in Legacy going on, where pretty much everything right now is just dedicated towards creatures. We are seeing combo decks moving more toward being creature oriented, and of course Delver you know, if you can just swords a Murktide Regent, that's yeah, that's a really good trade for you. So swords is the main reason to be playing white cards. If you're playing swords, I like playing some other silver bullets that are very good in white. For example, Rest in Peace. Surgical is great, but the thing with Rest in Peace is that if you resolve it, it's just game over for your opponent, depending on what deck they play, like Dredge, Hogak, Reanimator. Life from the Loam decks, just getting rid of the graveyard forever is really good, and on top it also exiles everything when it enters the battlefield. So if they do get rid of it, it's probably too late. If you resolve this against Delver too, it's so good because Murktide's useless, and the Darcy is just a 1/1, so it's really strong. And then of course Teferi. This may seem like a weird inclusion to play in Infect, but it's really just, it's an easy mode button, right? If I can play this turn 2, for example, you start with turn 1 Noble Hierarch, and then you play an Inkmoth Nexus. You have 3 mana on turn 2, and you can play Teferi. If they don't have anything for it, you just win the next turn. It's easy mode button, so it's nice. Though in all honesty, if you don't like Teferi, you can just play something else. It's really fine. Let me go through some other choices that I've been trying out recently and why I haven't been liking them. So you can see, and this is something that I've been getting a lot of questions about from players who are not familiar with the Infect archetype. I only play a single Ponder, and let me explain to you why this is the case in Infect. I have tried recently going to 3 or 4 Ponders because that's just what nowadays decks do, right? You play more Ponders to find the stuff that you need and you win the game that way. It just doesn't work in Infect. It's difficult for me to even explain why, but it's just experience. I've played hundreds of games with 4 Ponders, 3 Ponders, and it's not good. It's not good enough. And what I think the main reason for this is you can see I'm playing double Sylvan Library because we do want to draw cards. It's not like we don't want cards, but in fact, it's not a deck that relies on 1 or 2 cards to win the game, which is something that most combo decks do. Doomsday is a 1-card combo. You play Doomsday. Of course you want to find that. If you can resolve it, you win. Same for Sneaky Show. Same for, although I guess they need 1 other card. But in fact, that's not the case. Our cheapest combo is a creature, Invigorate, and Berserk. 1 green mana to win the game. That's 3 cards. That means that Ponder is not that reliable. You can maybe find 1 piece, but you need both of the other ones as well. And that's why I found that Sylvan Library is just better, because you just get to draw so many cards. We also want to win the game quickly. So I often find myself, 90% of the times, if I resolve this turn 2, for example, Sylvan Library, I'm just going to draw 3 cards no matter what they are. Unless it's 3 lands, of course, then you can just fetch them away. But in general, you just draw so many cards and you win afterwards. I have so many gameplay videos of that. Okay, going back to Spell Pierce, I've been dabbling around with 4 Flusterstorms, 2 in the main, 2 in the side, but I'm going for 2 Spell Pierce right now, and that's because of the uptick in the Blood Moon decks. Spell Pierce is really good against those, and I've been seeing more of a diversification in Legacy again. And Spell Pierce, I like it again, but if you want to play another counter spell in here, that's perfectly fine. 4 days, 4 4s, that's pretty stock. My Pump Spell suite is pretty standard too. I've gone up to 3 Scale, 3 Berserk, 3 Vines in the past, but I've gone back to this. I do like the 1 Scale Up, that's an addition that old lists didn't play, but I like the Singleton Scale Up. I don't think I would, in this build at least, want more, but I think that's perfectly fine. Creatures, nothing to be said about that, that's very standard. The thing that I've changed the most in is in the land suite. Let me talk you through this. I'm playing 19 lands again, because I've been finding that I've been losing a lot of games in the past because of Mana Screw. And you can see that I've done some interesting changes. I've cut Pendelhaven. I'm also no longer playing the Wastelands. I just don't think that they are good enough anymore. What you want to do is you want to have mana every single time. So I'm playing 1 Savannah, 1 Tundra, 2 white sources to fetch up for the white cards. And I'm also playing a Forest because of the Blood Moon decks. That means I have 4 drops, a Forest, Tundra, Savannah. So that's 7 playable mana sources that I can just get with my fetch lands. Very important. I have very little issues with Mana Screw since I've swapped to this build, and I've been really liking it. And the reason also for playing the more lands is because, well, I'm playing this bad boy right here. I'm playing Uros. May seem very weird in an Infect deck, but honestly, I think we are one of the only aggro decks that can actually use this reliably, because our deck is just blue-green. So we can play Uro every single time. We don't need to try and fix our mana to be able to play it. We just have Uro to our availability. The thing is, this is the greatest alternative win condition that you can imagine, because mostly decks, they just want to kill your 1/1s and then win the game later. That's what you usually want to do against Infect. Uro makes it so that's no longer the case, because if you can slam this down late, you will win the game. This will take over the game very, very quickly. So I love Uro. I think it's great, and especially in combination with swords. I have a lot of gameplay videos at the ready, because this is newer content. You've been probably seeing that I've been updating the Legacy Masters series on YouTube, but I will make new content, which is coming out soon, where I make gameplay videos. So check that out later. And the combination of Uro and Swords and Sylvan Library, we can start playing a bit of a more of a control-y route. I had a game recently where I saw more cards than my Delver opponent, which is just to show you the power level of Uro and Swords. It may seem weird to also include Rest in Peace when you're playing Uro, and I can agree with that to a certain extent, but they do different things, and if you can just bring in one of these, you don't have to bring them both in at the same time. Keep in mind that if you're bringing Rest in Peace, I don't really like Become Immense. Same goes for when you're bringing Uros. Take that into account. The rest is pretty straightforward. Flusterstorm is really good against combo decks. Surgicals for when you need stuff to deal with the graveyard. We have Force of Vigors, really good card. Glyph Artifacts and Enchantments. Seeds of Innocence, I'm playing 2 of them because 8 cost is a thing and you want to be able to just destroy everything. The live gain is Flavor Text, so that's nice. And I'm playing a singleton Veil of Summer. Easy, straightforward. So that was my metagame analysis, my card choices. Please, everyone, if you have enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, do spam them. I will definitely respond in a later video or just respond in the replies. But I hope that you've enjoyed this, and if you want to stay updated about monthly metagame updates, you can check out my videos each month that I do like this. And if you want to have a sideboard guide, check out my Patreon, because more about that you can find on my Patreon. So cheers, see you next time everyone, bye!